So the third season of Life with Derek took on a life of its own, let's say. I was able to get through the first season pretty easily without mentioning all the in-family relations going on, like the hypertension between Derek and Casey, the online fandom that is Daisy. Like, I don't even know where to begin with this show when it comes to that stuff. All I know is at first it started out as a show about Battle of the Sexes, where it was pretty much the Brady Bunch, you know, like the girls moving in with the guys and the parents essentially forcing it to happen. And, you know, there was a lot of boundaries broken, disrespect given to one side or the other, with especially like a lot of tension between Derek and Casey, who both saw themselves as the head of the household in each individual homes. So seeing them clash heads made a lot of sense, and it was really funny for a while until it became a little bit too romantic. And you guys know what I'm talking about. It just seems like they were getting on each other's nerves just to spend more time together, just to somehow find a way to be closer. I don't know. That's the vibe I was getting. When it hit the second season, it became so much more like that because Casey was just a lot more obsessed with taking down Derek's schemes than she was at necessarily, I don't know, getting better in her own life. Derek also, same thing. Like, he seems like he's trying to manage his reputation a lot better, but Casey keeps bothering him. And then through problems that came up with the family, like the younger siblings, Edwin, Lizzie, and Marty, they just added further complications where they had Derek and Casey pretty much had to spend a lot of time choosing between where they were going to respect the younger siblings or, you know, each other. And there was times where they would come together, times where they would be against each other. Like, there was just a lot of dynamics going on in the second season. So this kind of had a couple romantic through lines. Like, for example, we had Casey meeting with Derek's best friend Sam in the first season, and that was kind of an on again, off again thing that didn't last super long. In the second season, it just started to teeter away as she became more fixated on Derek. And meanwhile, Derek was actually getting into a relationship with this girl named Kendra, who is Paige Michael Chuck from Degrassi. Not sure if you guys saw Degrassi. If you're into teen shows, yeah, I am. So I know who she is. Yeah, her and Derek form a relationship that's pretty unconventional, you know, like she's pretty okay with his player type ways and he likes the challenge of dating her. So they're pretty good together in that respect. It became a lot more about Kendra hooking Casey up with somebody so she could be in a relationship, giving a lot more awkward vibes to the whole Daisy situation toward the end of that season. Things got a little complicated and everything kind of worked out in the very end of it, where Casey actually met this guy named Max, and Max is a Canadian actor too, but he was on True Jackson VP, which is where I knew him from. That was the love interest of that show. It would come later in 2010, but for the most part, he started out on this show, something that a lot of people don't remember. I can't believe I even do remember that. So yeah, so this season starts out with Derek and Kendra still dating, Casey and Max in a relationship, and of course, more sibling drama than ever before. So with 26 episodes in this whole new season, obviously I can't get them all in one go, especially since you guys like it when I talk about the show to larger extents. So I'm gonna cover 13 episodes and then another 13 episodes. So we'll actually like take time to dive deeper into this and really figure out what the heck were these writers thinking.
What were you thinking?
Or directors, I guess. I feel like it's more about the chemistry between the people, but then again, the writers must have had to contribute to it. They couldn't have known this and been like, yeah, this is normal. But hey, I guess that's just me being me. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump into the first half of the third season of Life with Derek. What's up, everybody? It's Johnny 2000, focusing on 2000s movies, media, TV, and so much more. The first episode of the third season starts off pretty strong with season 3, episode 1. It's called Two Timing Derek. And yeah, it is a full Derek episode, which is not that surprising considering his episode is in the title.
Derek seems really sweet.
Yeah, no, he's really not.
It starts out with Casey and Emily kind of gossiping in the hallways, like figuring out what school dynamics are really like. Casey is harping on Max, but more so worried about Derek and Kendra. Don't know why she has to be involved, but Emily is like, no, like if it statistically makes sense, Derek has never dated anybody longer than like 2 weeks, and Kendra is the first person to have done this, so it seems like they're definitely going to be breaking up soon. Casey is like super hyper aware of this, and kind of leaves it at the door for now. She's getting ready to be in this huge dance.
We can't watch TV because you're rehearsing Goose Lake.
It's Swan Lake.
This is an interesting note. I didn't realize they had full-on ballet class within the confines of a school. Like, that's crazy. So, yeah, Casey has to do this for an assignment. Didn't see that coming. The B plot isn't super interesting. It's Edwin and Lizzie, the siblings plot line, and basically the parents are like, we want to eat dinner with this one family, but the kids don't like that family. So they're like, why in the world would we do that? And yeah, so it becomes this really awkward tension where it's like, why would we go hang out with people we don't want to hang out with? And the mom is kind of like, because it's about manners, it's about, you know, customs, and that's an interesting thing that was like definitely prioritized in the 2000s, just like being nice to your neighbors, which I don't think is a bad thing even till this day. Like, it's important to get to know people, right? But yeah, Casey and this girl named Lucy start practicing for ballet class in the living room. Don't know why they couldn't just go to the room, but whatever. Derek is protesting this until he realizes how attractive Lucy is. Uh-oh. So this becomes a point of contention because Casey is like, you're with Kendra. And even though she is pretty aware that like, hey, he's a player, he's not gonna make this one last, you still have to respect women. So Casey becomes the police of this whole situation and makes it her daytime job to keep an eye on Derek and how his relationships unfold. Okay. I feel like the best thing she does in this is brings it up to the family, which, like, of course, that's how you address something like this. Like, you can't necessarily control what he does, but you can warn him of the situation. And the fact that the parents, like, kind of get in on this too makes it a lot more fair. The two weirdly flirty fight in front of the mirror. This is like one of the things I don't think actually happens when you have step siblings, is like fighting over the mirror. But Casey tries to give him like this whole lesson on like why he should be respectful. And I don't know, Casey, do you really think he's about to listen to you? Yeah, so she goes to somebody who will listen, which is the school therapist. This poor man just has to sit here and listen to Casey talk only about her brother all day, every day. So while Casey's trying to control this whole situation, she learns that Derek actually made a date with her on Friday night. But that's not the craziest part. She sees that Kendra is talking to another guy and that maybe she has a date Friday night. So this is all getting thrown into Derek's face and she is way too confident about this. This is where I get kind of weird about their relationship. Let's take a quick break to go to the B plot. It's the Venturis versus the McDonald's situation on whether they should go to dinner with this weird family that Lizzie and Edwin kind of feel weird about going to. They make a bunch of arguments that are actually pretty good moral arguments. I feel like this should be like in an after-school special as opposed to a teenage show, but it's fair. Marty's the one judging the whole competition. Don't know why that is, but it's pretty cool.
Well, I think you should decide this yourselves. Like I'm 6.
They end up going through with it anyway, and let's take a break from that. Oh, this is the episode that Max technically does ask out Casey, so they start dating within this episode. So Casey actually finds herself dealing with the same situation where Emily tells her, because of all this gossip, that Max is actually having an on-again, off-again relationship with somebody else. So Casey is seeing this whole situation as the same thing with Derek, where it's just like boys are just gonna be players and just try to date as many girls as possible. Ugh. Sad situation, but I don't know why Casey's thinking about her brother in the form of relationships this much anyway. She ends up telling Kendra, trying to get comeuppance, and Kendra ends up showing up that exact night. Derek is like, what the heck is going on? Like, I'm about to go on a date with Lucy, and Kendra's here. So they end up having a little argument, going back and forth, until they both realize that they're just going out with other people because maybe they're scared of intimacy with each other. Oh, interesting. So Kendra actually does understand where Derek is coming from, and they realize that they might want to be together, which I find crazy. I didn't realize they lasted this long. So Casey's whole thing to keep them apart, or like keep the situation respectful, gets blown up in her face, which sucks because it's the morally correct thing to do. I don't think she's doing anything wrong here, but the fact that she's trying to control it so heavily is the issue. Once she kind of resolves this with Derek, she starts to take on her personal relationship with Max and realizes that he actually isn't with his ex, and everything is just okay in the end. So nothing needed to be controlled. These situations did not need to be as monitored as they were, and Casey is a freak. Honestly, that's all I'm taking away from this episode. So everybody kind of forgives each other, and the relationships continue exactly how they are. With the Venturis versus the McDonald's situation of like going to dinner with the other family, it's funny because the parents end up having a really bad time with this new family, and the siblings actually really like them. So turns out it was the opposite situation that they expected, which is definitely how life goes sometimes. I feel like it makes sense to like have really negative expectations and have them actually be surprised. So yeah, two-timing Derek, crazy start to a new season, all these moral issues going on with siblings, but hey, I'm here for it, and I'm here to review it. The next episode is episode 2, It's Our Party, and this actually is interesting because the A-plot is between the younger siblings, Edwin and Lizzie, which I find pretty interesting. I like these characters a lot, so I do not mind having them have a whole episode to themselves. It's about a party, and basically they're gonna try to celebrate both of their birthdays at the same time.
Yeah, party!
Edwin really wants this to be a mixed gender party so he can talk to a lot of girls, and Lizzie is just all around awkward. We don't really know why. She's just kind of dodging any opportunity to take advantage of this. We'll get into that later.
What's a tween?
A tween is a freaky, stinky half-teen, half-kid mutant.
The whole Derek and Casey plot line, which is always the main plot point, is more about Casey and connecting with Max. She's like, okay, I always end up embarrassing myself. How do I not do that in this relationship? Which is true, Casey. Like, you are an embarrassing person, and I feel like all the stuff going on with Derek might even be weirder to jump into a relationship with. But hey, she's pretty focused on trying to woo Max, and that's just how it goes. She wants to go to his football game and actually impress him with how much she knows about football. Some of the stereotypical teen sitcom where it's like one person trying to impress the other person by pretending to know something they do not know anything about, and it's always funny to watch these setups play out.
Yeah, question, do 2 quarterbacks make a halfback?
Especially since Life with Derek is barely a funny show, so the fact that they actually dive into this, like, please be funny this time. So Casey is like, okay, cool, like, I'll learn about football from Derek, which, why would you need to learn that from him? I don't know. I'm not gonna get into the romantic stuff right now, but that seems like pretty crazy to me. So Derek starts telling Casey all the wrong information about football, which is even funnier.
And continue?
Okay, so the quarterback tries to bypass the flinger to get it to his flonger to score a fling-flong.
A fling-flong? What's a fling-flong?
6 points.
Meanwhile, the party is underway. Lizzie and Edwin are trying to like pick out the venue, pick out the situation. It's kind of fun because the parents are like very involved and they care about it. Casey ends up trying to approach Lizzie with why she doesn't really want to actually go through with this party. And both Derek and Casey freak out their younger siblings, which is so funny. That's like how they're involved in the A-plot. Like Derek tells Edwin he better be ready to kiss because this is his first boy-girl party, and he did that a lot at his first, and Edwin is very intimidated and scared, especially since it's just going to be like a dance at their own house. Like, he's expected to kiss. He even practices on a monkey in the closet, which that is funny. So maybe this show is getting a little funnier. Lizzie learns that she's gonna have to dance, which actually freaks her out more than anything. Casey doesn't even like become sensitive to the situation. She's just like, yeah, you're just gonna have to do that. And the two siblings are like freaking out under the pressure that they lock themselves into the game room of the house.
Well, hey, it's our party and we'll hide if we want to.
Which is kind of cute because that's usually where they meet up anyway. So like seeing them actually have to be there and avoid the party together is so funny. So right off the bat, Derek and Casey are now in a really big argument because Casey embarrassed herself giving all the football information that Derek gave her. And I don't know why she's surprised or couldn't have looked up literally half of this stuff on her own. Next thing you know, Casey is trying to help solve this whole party situation. With Edwin and Lizzie locked themselves into the closet, like she's the one who has to solve this. And she's not even good at it. Like, Casey is the worst person with advice, so of course they need Derek's help, which kind of sucks because after all that he had going on, like, he is not a helpful person. I don't know why you would want to work with Derek. So yeah, they trick Derek into coming home from his hockey game saying it's an emergency, but really they just need to save this dead party, which that's kind of an extreme reason to call Derek to come home for. Whatever though. So yeah, the siblings and the parents are doing whatever it takes to get these kids back into their own party, which is actually kind of sweet when you think about it. Derek ends up opening up to Edwin about the fact that he never was able to kiss a girl at his first party, making it seem like, oh, like I was awkward too. So Edwin gets the confidence to actually go downstairs. Meanwhile, Lizzie has the same thing where everybody's like teasing her about being with this one guy, which by the way, very relevant for middle schoolers. So she's avoiding the party because she does not want everybody to hook her up with this one guy, Jane. They both come out of their shell and they definitely feel better in the long run for it because they get what they want out of the situation. It's very sweet. Max ends up showing up and Casey invites him in and they end up forming a relationship despite the fact she lied about the football stuff. I don't know why he would be so upset with her about that because it's clearly a sweet misunderstanding. Like, the worst thing she could do is embarrass herself, but he's pretty forgiving about it, so we're all good in the hood here. With Edwin actually talking to a girl by the end, everybody seems to have won, except Kendra. Kendra's still with Derek, and he wants to be with his sister. So I guess we're gonna move on from that, huh? So as if rumors weren't a part of this show, literally even a part of the titles I put in my videos about this show, this is where everything kind of comes to a head. Season 3, episode 3 is called Rumor Mill, and it's about a rumor that just like literally goes off its rockers. And rumor episodes of TV shows, they happen a lot. There was an entire episode of Sweet Life called Rumors. A lot of different shows have touched upon this topic because it is very relevant for middle schoolers. You know, like just starting an assumption about what you think is going on and then everybody taking that as fact before they know what's actually happening is just so common, and it's definitely something that's always been in our society, whether it's like fake news. This is something that has always been in our social experience. So it's Valentine's Day, literally the perfect ground for the most dramatic things to go down, and we learn that Emily is still dating Schlepper. I'm not sure if they were together before or like what, I don't even remember. Casey ends up telling Kendra, Derek's girlfriend still, that there's no way they're gonna still end up together. And that's just kind of her assumption. There's not actually something going on with the relationship. Casey just assumes that. Next thing you know, Emily comes crying to Casey because he broke up with her. Apparently there was a rumor that she was gonna break up with him, so he did it first. Oh my gosh. So Casey literally got involved in this without meaning to, and you know, technically it was Kendra who spread the rumor, but Kendra was like, well, Casey, I'm just saying what you told me. And she's like, uh-oh, I am guilty. Which is so funny to start off the bat with, because Casey, you're always guilty. The B plot is actually a lot more shallow. So Derek's dad gives him advice because Derek can't find the perfect Valentine's Day gift. So George tells him there's this thing called the preemptive strike where you break up with somebody before Valentine's Day and then get back together with them after so you don't have to get them a gift. I really hope this isn't a real thing in reality because I've never heard this. It unfortunately makes a lot of sense, and that's the part that scares me to believe that people might have actually believed this. So Casey tries to undo her rumor issues by getting involved. So she talks to Schlepper, tries to get him to go back to her, but this really doesn't end up working out for her. Through this conversation, Kendra overhears Schlepper say that Derek is gonna break up with her. Oh my gosh, this is so dramatic. So yeah, now she's confused because where did that come from? And I don't know, this therapist has just to deal with so much with Casey, and the fact that like Casey's responsible for all of this is like the worst part. Poor Emily though, like she's the one who's actually Casey's friend. She's gonna have to deal with this worse. So this preemptive strike thing almost like makes a lot of sense because Kendra breaks up with Derek because of this rumor, which actually works in his favor because of the thing his dad taught him. So Derek is like not disappointed at all, which is kind of stupid. Casey like confronts him about it, and this is where it's like, Casey, please don't get involved with Derek just because he's there. Come on. This screws over Casey ridiculously because Kendra ends up asking Max to the dance, which is kind of, I don't know, Kendra, that's not cool, especially since you know Casey. So Casey is kind of screwed. Now Derek is freaking out because he did not expect Kendra to go out with somebody else. So all of this is kind of falling apart. Valentine's Day is not a fun time. So now Derek has to combat all of this by asking Emily to the dance. And Derek, you've let on Emily so many times in the past. You know she has a crush on you. I don't know why he's doing this with her. This gets even worse because Schlepper thinks he has the right to ask Casey to the dance. Oh my gosh. So next thing you know, nobody is going with who they want to go with because of all these rumors. And even Max has to write a note to Casey to be like, hey, this is not anything personal. So her situation works out and they just have a field day at this school dance. It's cool because we never saw an actual dance go on in the realm of this show, but seeing all these couples not work out for each other, having to turn their backs on one another, and then suddenly ending up back in the relationships they started in, that was crazy. His apology is, I like you, but I hate shopping, and I don't know why that's enough for them to make up. Oh, so they do make up. Yeah, Valentine's Day episode, they're definitely a different breed. Good Valentine's Day episode. I love Valentine's Day.
Casey, I think this is your fantasy.
It's one of my favorite holidays just because when we were little, you got to pass out the candy and write notes to your friends in class. And I always liked an opportunity to tell people how I felt about it. It was kind of fun. Things are different now. Valentine's Day is kind of a Hallmark holiday, as the kids say. This next episode is a little less drama and a lot more fun, which I really appreciate. So far, it's been very relationship driven. It's episode 4, Misadventures in Babysitting. So in this one, Casey is trying to get closer to Max. They just started dating and she wants to spend time with him outside of school, which is very rare when you're actually dating in high school. I remember always being in relationships and wanting to see them outside of school. So yeah, he's avoiding talking to her, which is kind of a red flag for Casey. So she's like, what's going on here? Meanwhile, the parents are actually going to go away for a vacation this whole time, leaving the siblings in charge of the kids. So Derek and Casey somehow have to work together to keep the kids taken care of this weekend. It's really easy because Casey's kind of depressed about the fact that Max won't open up to her, and she's kind of using this as a I hate guys type situation. They just don't want to talk about their feelings. Of course, Derek is the perfect example of that because he and Kendra broke up once again and he's not talking to her at all. And she's like, why don't you get back together? And Derek is just like, I just don't want to have that conversation. I don't want to see people cry. So Casey takes over babysitting responsibilities with Marty, Lizzie, and Edwin. They hate that, as I would too. She just wants to do educational games, really socially responsible things, which I don't think anybody at this age was actually like. I mean, Casey is born a librarian of some sort that just has the power to make everything boring, and I wouldn't want to be around that either. So Casey and Emily end up hanging out, finding Max with his ex-girlfriend? What the heck? So Casey's kind of heartbroken about this whole situation and wants to spy on him, actually figure out what's going on that he doesn't want to talk about. That is kind of going to take a back seat to this whole situation, actually, because Derek ends up taking over the siblings while Casey is away. And Derek is a horrible babysitter. He's like, if you want to do something, go clean my room. And of course, Derek, you're suggesting these things. He's the opposite of Casey, not responsible. He just wants them to go off and do whatever they feel like doing. But they actually want to hang out with him, which I find really depressing. Edwin ends up having his friend come over and tells him about how much of a monster Derek is. And this friend actually gets him to turn on Derek. Yeah, they tie Derek to the chair and insist that they're going to have fun together, which, what? Okay, so now this kid, who's kind of like a mobster, but also Edwin's friend.
Then untie me, and I'll inspire you some more.
Nice try, Derek. But you can't scam a scammer.
Teaches Edwin, Lizzie, and Marty how to turn on Derek and actually torture him, with one of these things being inviting Kendra over. Oh my gosh. So yeah, they force Derek to have a conversation with his girlfriend.
That better not be... Kendra? Hey! I was gonna call you, but as you can see, I'm really tied up right now.
And that is not the end of it. They basically keep torturing him, turning against him at every chance they got. And Derek, I've never seen him so defenseless. He's genuinely scared throughout this episode. That's why it's probably called Adventures in Babysitting. And because Casey's dealing with all this Max stuff going on, she's not coming back anytime soon. So Derek is kind of screwed. And then he ends up getting his hand free eventually, which means he wants revenge. revenge. Yeah, so he turns in all the siblings and starts trying to literally attack them and turn on them for all of the stuff they just did to him, which is kind of fair. You guys were definitely asking for that. I don't know how you tie up your brother and expect him to just go back to normal. Casey actually confronts Max, or I would say Max finds Casey and she's embarrassed, but that's what happens. It's really awkward for a minute. There's no way these two are going to end up together, at least we think as the audience. But then Max admits that like he doesn't actually want to get back together with her. He's been avoiding telling Casey all this because he just wants to keep it in his baggage and just move on in a relationship. But obviously communication's important. Casey gets over it pretty quickly, and these guys feel like a really weird couple to me. Yeah, point is Derek gets away and Casey has to save Derek from all the siblings, or vice versa actually, because Derek has become a monster at this point.
Derek, what have you done to the children?
It all resolves with them having a successful babysitting experience and lying to the parents that it was perfect, when really it was actually kind of a nightmare. This is like horrible for them. All around though, this episode kind of ended up pretty okay. I feel like I still don't know how I feel about Max and Casey as a couple, but it's better than Casey and Derek. Let's keep going. The next episode is called Slacker Mom, episode 5 of season 3, and this feels like the most generic like Life with Derek episode I've ever watched. You know, it kind of starts us all out in exactly where we left off from the last episode, but it's just normal like sibling hijinks. It becomes a lot more about Casey and Derek, and yeah, it seems like it's about the mom, but really that's just like the backdrop. Nora, who is their mother, is really insecure because she's having a hard time juggling taking care of everybody and her job. As you can imagine, like, the mother's job is probably ridiculously hard, and nobody is super caring toward her about it. They're just kind of like, hey, do it, mom. And she's like, wow, I'm not being the mom I want to be, which is a pretty respectful attitude to go about this whole situation with. So she announces to everybody that she's gonna quit her job and be full-time, like, there for them and her kids. And it's kind of sweet to think about, but the Casey and Derek stuff is the most important, so let's get to that. Casey is using the fact that she's dating Max as a popularity card. Emily is like, now we can go hang out with them because you're with Max. So they go to the staircase, which is apparently the epitome of where popular kids go to hang out, and great for them. Casey is now a part of their clique, but she's the lamest one there, talking about like the most boring things you could imagine. I don't know how Max doesn't like break up with her right here and now, because the way she fits in with the group is just not natural at all. But hey, Max has a crush on her, whatever. Things don't get complicated until Derek is like, stay away from the popular crowd, that's my group. And then there's this like little complication of like, well, I'm dating Max, so I have a right to be there. The slacker mom stuff starts showing up when she starts spending all this time with the cool kids, and next thing you know, she's getting overpacked lunches. Nora has become like a staple in her life.
Hope everyone's hungry. I made meatloaf and mashed potatoes.
An apple pie for dessert?
Oh, you peeked.
Shucks. Even shows up at school to her friends and is like, hey guys, how's it going? Which is really uncomfortable. Casey is like trying to set a boundary and be like, Mom, do not come and talk to me in front of these kids.
No can do, Nor. I'm hanging at the pool hall with the cool cats. You dig?
I don't know how the mom doesn't pick up on the fact that this is kind of inappropriate. Like, why would any teenager want their mother to come and talk to all of them? Of course, Max in this scenario probably doesn't know what to say. He wants to keep the impression of Casey's mom intact, but he's pretty uncomfortable too. They keep having these like black and white throwaway sequences to old sitcoms to make it look like the mom is like trying her best, which is actually kind of a cute cutaway. I feel like it's so cool when shows get creative and do montages like this. So Nora kind of gets in over her head by volunteering for everything. She just wants to be this super mom and gets lost in the sauce, if you catch my drift. Yeah, she doesn't know what to do about it. When Derek sees Nora going through all this trouble, he kind of uses this to his advantage and is like, Casey, like, why are you so focused on being a part of the cool kids when your mom is downstairs struggling to be a slacker? And Casey's like, oh, I guess that's true. So she actually goes down and tries to be like super mom, but then she ropes Derek into it. So hey, we all have to kind of pull our own weight. Yeah, so everybody helps the mom pretty much keep up with all of the activities she signed on for. And I feel like this would be any mom's dream, because mostly my mother and a lot of the friends' moms I knew were like, oh, I do everything all the time, always, which kind of fair. I definitely see the mother role as doing that. And next thing you know, once everybody like pulls their own weight, suddenly the slacker mom is not a slacker anymore. Casey ends up getting a kiss from Max, so her plot just continues. I guess we're worried about their relationship for a second, but it's more of a family episode. Derek comes through by kissing girls for money. It's a fundraiser. Yeah, don't be scared. But all around, like, the mom decides to go back to her job, and as long as everybody pulls their own weight, they could remain a family. Not that they're threatening to not remain a family. You guys have to catch my drift here. Yeah, this episode's not too interesting to talk about. Great, we have a Nora episode. Congrats, everybody, but let's keep going. Episode 6 is interesting because it's like a anti-bullying type episode, which I didn't expect Casey or Derek to be involved in. So we start off the episode being about pranking Max. So Derek and Sam, they're trying to team up and prank Max, which is Casey's boyfriend, which, by the way, Sam, that does not look good on you. You're her ex, so like, why in the world would that be okay? Meanwhile, Edwin is opening up to Derek about being bullied at school. Ooh, that's a problem. So yeah, Edwin is really nervous that this guy is gonna hurt him, and Derek's advice is like, go ahead, intimidate him back, like, take him down. Crazy to get advice from him, because I mean, considering in the next scene that they prank Max, and yeah, that's not good. Derek is not the word of wisdom here. Lizzie apparently ends up being the one to defend Edwin to his bully, which is something that Derek is like super against, is like, you can't do that, you can't have your sister defend you, which, by the way, is funny to take note of because later that's really gonna come into play. Derek teaches Edwin how to be tough and defend himself, as you would expect Derek to. The next day, Edwin comes back and has a black eye. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Derek's advice definitely led him to being harmed, and I was not expecting this show to go that far. Next thing you know, Derek is calling Edwin's bully's brother and actually threatening him. Oh my gosh. So now it's gonna become a bigger problem. You think Edwin's bully is going to show up to the door and actually like take on Derek, but no, it's the bully's older brother, and it turns out to be somebody Derek actually knows. His name's Ryan, and he's so much bigger than Derek. Oh my gosh. So yeah, now Derek's doing all these pranks, and suddenly he's the one at the risk of being beaten up. Derek tries to keep a straight face and like tell Edwin he's not scared of him, but reveals to Casey later that actually this guy used to beat up Derek all the time. Derek used to be bullied. Whoa, didn't expect that plot twist. Casey actually feels for him, and it's kind of sad to think about. Casey is the only one actually defending Derek and is like, you should not fight this guy. But Derek is just so insistent on doing it. Even Max is like, yeah, you should just let Derek be beaten up. And Casey's like, what the heck? I agree, Max, that is not appropriate. So yeah, Casey is the one stepping in.
Stop the violence!
We haven't started the violence.
Oh, okay.
And even the therapist is like, what do we do about this? Because bullying is obviously like a very serious subject. And next thing you know, it's not even about Edwin being bullied anymore. It's about Derek fighting this bully. And I do like this trope. Edwin ends up meeting up with his bully, and it's really awkward because it's like, oh, I hated when you hit me in the eye. You know, like, what are they supposed to say to each other?
Hey, you're pretty tough. You didn't even cry when I hit you.
Yeah, I did. After you left. Ha! You blinked. I win.
You hit the table.
You hit my eye.
Oh, yeah.
They end up making up, which is kind of sweet, but considering the fact that their brothers are about to fight, both of them are like, oh, I guess we can't really do anything about that. That's just gonna happen. So Sam tries to have Derek's back, which not super helpful, Sam. Thanks, but I guess. Max gets involved and tries to help defend Derek, but Derek is just like doubling down. He really wants to fight this guy. Next thing you know, Casey comes in the way and interferes with everything, telling nobody to fight, which is exactly what happened with Edwin and Lizzie. And Max kind of bullies Derek and is like, well, you better thank Casey because she really came through for you. It's true. Like, Derek got to keep his masculine persona because Casey defended him. And I did not expect that ending. But yeah, it's kind of a really sweet episode when you think about it. I mean, anti-bullying episodes are always really positive because you never should, like, let yourself and be intimidated by by somebody else of your age, or like at least like work on communication so that way violence never happens. To think that this was like actively happening in schools at the time is kind of insane, especially the fact it's in Canada. I thought they were supposed to be all nice there, but all around, yeah, it's good to see siblings stand up for each other. I feel like Derek's ways definitely got in the middle of everything here, to the fact that Edwin got punched is like a little extreme that things had to get to that point. But yeah, okay, thanks Derek for not winning, I guess. I definitely think this is like a Casey positive episode. Her and Max definitely get stronger as a relationship. They start defending their siblings and making the right choices, so that's the sweet part. But poor Edwin, I feel like he is the one that like suffered the most in this episode out of anything. The next episode we have is Power Failure, episode 7, and oh my gosh, this episode was actually really interesting to me, especially since they've really got these characters down like Derek and Casey, and it's kind of wild to think that this next chunk of episodes more so focuses on Derek more than anything. So what's going on is at the school, they're looking for a prefect, and I didn't realize this was a term, maybe it's just outside of the US, but a prefect apparently is a student ambassador of sorts that is supposed to crack down on the law. It's pretty much the hall monitor episode of SpongeBob if I had to narrow it down to anything. Of course, Casey has nothing else to do in her life, so she dreams of being a prefect. Everybody else is like, why would you want that? Casey is so unlikable, I don't even know how to get into it sometimes. Pretty quickly into the episode, we actually get surprised when they're choosing who is going to be the prefect. They obviously get Schlepper, which I cannot believe Emily and him are still dating. Like, what is that relationship even? Like, that is just a convenient situation to put two characters next to each other. We get really shocked right off the bat when the principal chooses Derek to be one of the prefects. Like, what? Derek is not into this at all, as you can imagine, and Casey is just as upset. But everybody else around them's like, well, obviously this could be a good thing for Derek because he's such an underachiever. Maybe this will like actually make him responsible, which is kind of fair. Seeing him and Schlepper have to team up to kind of take over the student body is so crazy to me. So Derek ends up starting to adopt the personality of the prefect and start cracking down on his friends, which he feels really bad about. Sam and Spinner, I keep calling him Spinner, but I'm just gonna do that. They pretty much are like, okay, this is not cool, like don't crack down on us. But we learn that Derek has an alternative reason for doing this. Surprise, surprise. He wants to use the school as a practice place for their band. Okay, that's kind of a good idea, Derek. I don't know why if you just didn't ask, they wouldn't actually let you use the space. I mean, the space is for students. Like, what's the issue? Derek even assigns Casey detention, which I find crazy. Like, that is pushing it to the limit. Like, Casey didn't love you before. Dude, Casey is going to marry you after this. That's obviously not, I'm not condoning the incest. I just think it's relevant to mention. The B plot is interesting because it's about Marty taking advantage of the parents just by being cute. Obviously only Edwin and Lizzie can pick up on this because they've been the younger sibling before, they get it. This plot is really boring to me. It's just watching George be a terrible father for like, I don't know, like 5 different scenes. It's weird because it's like the demographic is teenagers, so the fact that they have like this younger kid and an older father having this whole B plot is kind of interesting. It makes me wonder why I tune out. So Casey, I guess, doesn't have to worry about class, school, her entire existence because she's focused on taking down Derek, catching him in trying to do something bad with his power. Okay. And it's true, it is happening, but Derek kind of ruins this on his own when the principal ends up finding him and Schlepper, which, by the way, Derek asked Schlepper to join the band so he doesn't get in trouble. Kind of a baller move, honestly. That is what I would have done too. Like, if I got caught in something, I was like, what if you're a part of it? Yeah, but then the principal's really upset about this, and Derek goes to detention. I guess that's all there is to the episode. It's cool that Derek actually has, like, a form of power. Like, it's interesting how it plays out when he uses it. Obviously, he never has the right mindset for any of this stuff, so I don't know. This character just needs to grow up. Next is season 3, episode 8, Adios Derek. And at first I thought this episode would be entirely in Spanish, but then I realized why would any teen show ever just randomly do that just for like a genre shift? Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
¿Cómo está?
Giorgio.
This episode is interesting because it actually starts us out at a parent-teacher conference with both Casey and Derek with their respective parents. It's kind of interesting the way they cut back and forth. Casey is clearly doing a great job and Derek is doing horribly. But the way they reframe it to their parents is actually really funny. This show's starting to get its wits about it. This marks a surprising appearance of Derek's birth mother. Okay. Didn't see that coming. So apparently Derek is failing Spanish.
I'm only failing at one subject for me. That's progress.
You failed nap time?
You failed recess?
And it's not just like failing any other class. Like this is actually going to hold him back. So George is like, we're gonna have to send you to some kind of private school just to make sure you can finish this class.
Not just any private school. An all-boys private school.
And obviously Derek does not want to do that, but the fact that his mom is brought into the picture means it's like that serious. Like they're gonna have to do something about it. At first, when Casey hears that he's going to private school, she thinks he wins everything. Like she wishes she could have gone to private school. I can't even believe that. That's crazy. Nora and Derek's mom were surprisingly very cordial. I feel like just the way these adults talk to each other despite being in a like divorce situation is pretty charismatic. I've never seen them crack down on Derek so hard than they do in this episode. Like George literally locks him in his room and guards the door. Like, I mean, if that's what it takes to get Derek to actually pass a class, that's what's gonna have to happen. And I'm like so impressed by how far they take it. Like literally Derek is flirting with a girl at school and the mom shows up. Like, wow. Later, it gets really actually kind of twisted. So the mom is like, maybe if Derek comes with me to Spain, he could actually spend all of his time studying. And this is a for real situation. Like Derek is actually going to be doing this. He's kind of excited about it. And then everybody else gets excited about it. And this is the plot twist that I did not see coming. The idea of him leaving and everybody being excited actually upsets him. And see, he starts to have like really sad visions of like nobody actually caring if he leaves. And that's a really depressing episode for Derek. I feel like I've never seen his character be so emotional until this episode. And it's kind of sweet because like even his best friend Sam like is like, oh, I'm gonna miss you. So like there's a lot of heart into this. And then they actually, to celebrate him leaving, start a like celebrity roast type event where each of the characters in the family get to say something about Derek. And there is no way you can convince me that these kids are that witty. Like Lizzie, Edwin, Marty, like why are their jokes so good against Derek? Derek is obviously very playful and really enjoys this, which is kind of cool, but it really does start to hurt him after a while. And as an audience member, knowing he actually cares that he's leaving, it's kind of painful. But it really works out in the end because Derek realizes how bad he might want to stick around. And oh my gosh, there's a moment where Casey starts crying because she's gonna miss him. It's like, Casey, work a defense against my videos, please. Stop giving me so much content to talk about. Like the fact that she's sitting here crying about him leaving is hard for me. It ends up inevitably convincing him to stay, which crazy. He asks his mom if he could stay, and yeah, that ends up happening. Kind of reminds me of the episode where Carly is getting told she's gonna have to go to Yakima because her brother is not super responsible. Yeah, we always have those episodes in sitcoms where it's like the characters are about to leave or they're gonna move away and the show is gonna be completely different. But hey, spoiler alert, it never really actually happens ever. I don't think I can even like name a single time they actually went through with that. Moral of the story is Derek stays back. He's cool with his mom and Casey is upset. It's crazy because Casey really takes a back seat in this episode. I never seen her be like so little involved in the plot than this one, but she does play an effective role, especially since, you know, she's the one that's like the main antagonist for him. So yeah, seeing everybody kind of come together and say how much they appreciate Derek is kind of an interesting plot. So that was Adios Derek, the most emotional episode yet. Season 3, Episode 9 is yet again another Derek episode. Surprise, surprise. I mean, obviously having his name in the title definitely influenced some of this, but having 3 back-to-back is kind of insane. I feel like it went from being all about Casey to being all about anti-Derek. And spoiler alert, it's also another Feel Bad for Derek episode. So it's his 16th birthday. Cool. Everybody's getting ready for this surprise party, and they all act like they don't remember his birthday, which is low-key kind of real because I think they do actually forget. Like, a bunch of people like don't remember it at all, for real. Meanwhile, we actually do have to talk about the B-plot because it does come in play here, because they have a really disgusting old car and it smells and everybody's embarrassed to have friends in it or even like George to drive around in it. So they really want to get rid of it.
I feel carsick in the car when it's parked.
And this whole B-plot is them almost trying to get a new car. So of course Casey wants to spearhead this whole surprise party for Derek. Wouldn't expect anything less. Honestly, they're really good at keeping this secret. Like, every time they're addressed with Derek's birthday, they're really good at dodging it, which actually makes me feel worse for Derek. Like, that can't be fun to see that.
I can't believe this. They fucking forgot my birthday.
Of course, Casey remembers it. She's the one who's actually celebrating the birthday. And they have it at the Venturi's house because that's just their only set at this point. George ends up surprising Derek with his car. He's gonna gift it to him so that way the car could stay in the family and be an addition to the car they're about to get. Derek is completely flabbergasted. Honestly, if it were me, any kind of car to be given to me, that sounds like a crazy cool deal. Obviously, Derek is upset with it because it's a really embarrassing car. But yeah, so he is not super happy about this and kind of leaves. George ends up making it up to him by giving him a feast for his birthday, which is the best idea I think I've ever seen. I can't believe we don't do this in real life as much. Like, taking like the best fries from McDonald's, the best nuggets from Wendy's, like you combine every one of the best fast food chains and you just pig out. That's what they do here, and honestly, I wish that could be me. By the end, Derek actually warms up to the idea of having George's car. It's too late. Edwin actually used the car as a way to coax the car dealer to give them a big discount. And then, of course, they find a way to take that out of the discount, keep the car, and keep both of them. And that's just a little too unrealistic for me. We're watching a sitcom. I don't know if any car dealership would make that deal with you. But yeah, everything kind of works out in the end. Derek feels underappreciated throughout the whole episode, but everything becomes better when he comes downstairs to see the entire birthday party for him. And I don't know, this episode is weird because it's like jumping on two really intense plots of buying a new car and Derek's birthday. And then they spend a lot more time in the car dealership than necessarily getting ready for the birthday party, so it's kind of like taking its significance out. The only thing I learned from this episode is that maybe I'm gonna take a bunch of fast food restaurants, get the best thing on the menu, and put them all together. That's all I'm learning. Okay, you know how I keep talking about episodes taking other plot lines from other shows? Yeah, this is a really good example of that. Episode 10 is called Don't Take a Tip From Me, and it's the episode where the kids get jobs. Plain enough to say it. It's Derek and Casey getting a job, but you'll never believe like the way it transpires. And there is no dancing around the topic. Like, we start off at the dinner table and Derek and Casey both announce they got a new job, only to find out it's at the same place. Yeah, that's a very sitcom trope to have like the two least likely characters to be together. Yeah, it's a restaurant job, so they're both gonna be waiters, and you can imagine how this is gonna go. At first, they're like telling the boss like, oh yeah, it shouldn't be a problem that we're step siblings, like we'll definitely get along. And he's like, good, as long as you make sure that's true. And it's like, we both know as the audience that like Derek and Casey literally never get along. Maybe that'll actually be better in the workplace though, but that might force them to work a lot harder. Or maybe their romance will finally sparkle to its potential. The B plot is actually cool this time, so it's the siblings taking over their older brother and sister's rooms. Like, Lizzie starts going into Casey's room because apparently it's always been off limits and it really sets her free. Same thing with Edwin. He goes in Derek's room and just breaks a bunch of laws. I see where Edwin's coming from. Like, he is such a dictator, and Casey is also kind of a dictator. Actually, they have a lot in common. They are very controlling. They end up taking advantage of Marty throughout this episode and kind of work it back into the tips title of like, don't take a tip, because Marty starts collecting things from them to do basic chores, which is kind of like what Derek would do to Edwin. So this whole cycle of family, I don't know, rudeness just keeps coming and going. Really cool change of pace in this episode. Casey is horrible at being a waitress, and Derek is actually pretty good at it. You could pretty much guess how this goes down. Casey asks so many questions and is really a bother to all the patrons that come. Her pride is like really bruised. when Derek ends up having to fire her. Yeah, the boss asks Derek to fire his sister, which is really crazy to me. I feel like that has to be like some kind of law against something like that. And yeah, George is shocked to hear this, which I would be too. Of course, Casey like goes right to him and it's like, what is he gonna do about it? But she goes back to the boss and confronts him and is like, give me another chance, which is actually really smart. That gets a lot of points in Casey's corner for Johnny, that's for sure. Cause it's kind of sweet. It's nice that she's taking like ownership of the whole situation, until the boss says that Derek is going to be assigned to her to teach her how to be a better waitress, because he's just so good at it. Oh my gosh. So of course Derek turns their entire house into a little play set where they can actually make Casey good at what she does. His tips are actually pretty helpful too. Like, I feel like Casey just needs to let go of her personality a little bit just to start making money. I think she's capable, but then again, we're not asking my opinion, are we? We're just listening to it. So yeah, Derek guides Casey in the workplace, and he's pretty certain he's not actually doing a good job to help her. Derek really doesn't seem to care that she's struggling or that the boss is kind of being disrespectful toward her. Very frustrating, especially since they talk to Derek and they're like, hey, you gotta look out for your sister. Like, you can't just forget her because you're working at the same job. Like, that's like a little bit of reality that hits in Derek, because he actually is the bigger person in this episode and stands up to the boss by the end and is like, hey, I'm gonna quit if you don't help Casey. But then they actually backtrack on that, and Casey's like, oh, you quit because of me? And he's like, yeah, no, but I won't. And it's like, wait, what? Okay, so the entire resolve is just undone. Oh well. Yeah, so Casey and Derek are flirting in the workplace. That's essentially what this whole episode is. Smelly Nelly is the name of the restaurant, and I'm pretty sure they've been here in other episodes before, but this is the first time it's like a huge interaction, and I believe we'll be here a couple times in the future. I mean, we're 3 seasons into this show. You're telling me we're not going to introduce new locations? We need them, guys. My favorite part in this episode, though, is like 20 minutes in, and Casey is just like, no, you're fired. And it's like, I don't know if you can actually do that, Casey, but it's kind of baller that she even thinks she could. Like, I love that she like kind of stood up for herself in that moment. All around, like, it's nice this episode, after 3 full-on Derek episodes, like, I think we definitely need a little bit of a break. But there's some more interesting things to come, so let's just keep going, huh? Okay, episode 11 is called Fright Night, and I didn't realize that scary movies were a trope, but honestly, it's been enough episodes. They did this on The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. They saw a scary movie, and Zach couldn't sleep at night, started sleepwalking. Then they did it again in Wizards of Waverly Place, where they got magically zapped into the movie. I guess that wasn't really about being scared, but whatever.
Oh, there's that music again. Where's it coming from?
Uh-oh. This is the part where I run screaming into the steam-filled showers, which have been left running for no reason at all.
Okay, well, it was nice meeting you. You too.
And now they're doing it on Life with Derek, but this came first, so that kind of triumphs all. Basically, Edwin and Derek are watching a really scary movie, and Lizzie and Casey can't really handle it. Obviously, the boys take this a little bit too far and start teasing her about it, because have to. Lizzie wakes up Casey in her bed because she's too scared to sleep, and Casey also had a nightmare where she lost her planner, and I guess that's just her biggest fear.
Hello, Casey. Looking for your organizer?
So they have to sleep in the same bed at night because they're just too terrified. Later, the dad like kind of defends it to Nora, and it's like, what? Of course, Derek is the king of scares, which is not different than the king of pranks. He makes up this story that there was this guy who died when fixing the pipes, and it just didn't work out. And then we get a sequence of Casey actually being scared of scary movies, and it affects her day-to-day life, which I was not expecting. Like, Emily is a fan of scary movies, and that bothers Casey. And then her therapist says, you should watch scary movies, as if this is like something she has to overcome, which is kind of crazy to think about. So Casey's alone at home one night, and Derek and Edwin have a field day with it and try to scare her. Of course, it goes way too far, and Nora's like, you guys can't be doing this, and then punishes them. But Casey's like, no, we want real punishment. Revenge, which is the center point of all teen shows conflict. Revenge. So she gets Emily in on on the whole deal because, you know, she watches scary movies, and they plant cameras in the living room. I guess the whole goal is to try to scare Derek. Everybody is like elaborately a part of it. Lizzie tries to get Edwin in on the whole deal because, you know, obviously he might want justice against Derek, but of course he's way too loyal for that, so we'll see. And yeah, the rest of the episode is them evacuating the house, leaving Derek alone, trying to make it feel like there might be actually something going on, something like paranormal. Next thing you know, they call him on the phone and watch him from a webcam, which feels like a little bit of a privacy issue. In the end, they think they scare him, but then it turns out he replaces himself with a fake dead body and scares Casey back. Oh my gosh, so he wins. Congrats. I don't know why we need to keep giving a resolution to this. In the end, George comes in, scares everybody to death. And that's just how the episode ends. Yeah, it just goes too far, eventually.
Someone call a plumber?
And there doesn't really feel like a resolution. Okay, must be like a Halloween episode because this is ridiculous. Not really much to talk about here. This is just a generic episode of television. I mean, Casey's just as annoying as always. Lizzie and Edwin's conspiracy is probably the most interesting part of it. Maybe them keeping a webcam on Derek, like messing with Lubert style from iCarly, is kind of a funny trope, but yeah, it's definitely dated at this point. So the next episode is, I would consider, the Derek sobriety episode, number 12, when Derek met Sally, which is so funny. So Derek is sworn off girls because he doesn't want to talk about feelings or thoughts, and he claims he doesn't have either.
Yes, but the same goes for all girls. They demand to know your thoughts and feelings, your thoughts about those feelings, and I have absolutely no thoughts.
Which is kind of nuts. I don't know how you don't have either. And this is a romantic episode for everybody in the cast. Like, Lizzie's side plot is her and Jamie, her friend Jamie from earlier. Other friends like teased her about dating, and he tells Lizzie he likes her, and it becomes really awkward because she doesn't actually like him back. And the whole episode is like her trying to navigate that, like seeing if they could still be friends, being insistent that they can't, which is actually pretty interesting. I feel like that is like a normal reaction to how teenagers liked each other at the time. And then meanwhile, of course, Derek is also suffering because his new co-worker, Sally, is really sweet and nice and exactly everything that he says he didn't want in a girlfriend right now. Sally gets in a fight with her boyfriend during the closing shift, which actually causes Derek to get involved even though he doesn't want to. Kind of funny though, like his reaction to it. Of course he doesn't want to talk about this stuff. Derek backtracks, which makes me respect him less, says that he actually didn't want to stop dating girls. Like, yeah, that was just a whole gimmick. Okay, Derek. He tells Sam about the girl at work, and oh my gosh, Sam is just such a nonchalant character at this point. Like, he dated Casey, that made him like kind of relevant, and now he's just the talking character. Things get deflected pretty quickly when it becomes more about Lizzie's plot, which I actually like a lot. Turns out Lizzie doesn't want to go on a date with Jamie because she has a crush on somebody else. Somebody named Rod, I guess. So Casey tells Derek to start giving Jamie advice, and then Derek ends up telling Jamie this. And then, of course, they have this date at Smelly Nelly's. Casey can't keep it to herself and decides to spy the entire time, which I don't know how Jamie doesn't pick up on this. So yeah, Derek and Casey are literally trying to get these guys together or like get the perfect break. I don't even know at this point. The point is Derek is like ruining the whole situation without realizing it. Of course, he's suffering on his own with Sally's boyfriend. So Sally's boyfriend ends up showing up to work by the end of the episode, leaving Derek embarrassed because he's like, hey, it's over. She said it's over. But it turns out when she told Derek it was over, it just meant like the argument was over, not the relationship. Oh God, it's awkward. Poor Derek. He's like finally gave love a chance and now he's just embarrassed. Yeah, this episode was a weird one for sure. I like that it's more focused on Lizzie and relationships and Casey's interference with the whole situation. Her and Derek are definitely opposing forces at all times. I don't know how people are biologically born to be such opposing people, but sure. This is only the beginning of this relationship, so let's keep exploring. Which brings us to the half-season finale, which doesn't really exist. I'm just making that up. But hey, if this was a show coming out in 2025, this would be the season finale. You would never leave 13 episodes ever. But there are 26 in this season, so we're definitely splitting them in half. I'll get to the second half of the 13 very soon. But in the meantime, let's end on a prom episode. Number 13, Make No Promises. And then, of course, Sunny with a Chance had an episode called Promises, Promises. And then, of course, Hannah Montana also had a prom episode. It's just, this is one of the most generic ones because it's a normal school tradition, of course. Casey is really insistent on controlling the entire situation. And of course, now that she's dating Max, like, this is actually somebody who's going to have to suffer because of it. She can't find the exact perfect dress, and she's becoming like Promzilla. Derek has a talk with Sally about how he's not gonna miss his prom, and then Sally's like, you should definitely go. Like, why not? Oh my gosh, it definitely feels like she's giving him like these vibes. Casey already doesn't want to go to prom just because of the whole dress situation, and I wish she would just take it slightly less seriously. Nora insists that she could make a perfect dress, and let me give you a little spoiler, that does not work out. Suddenly everything is crashing for Casey. Her haircut's gross, the dress turns out bad. It's like, nobody wins, and she's just like, I am not going to prom, which I can't believe she's like making this the center point of everybody else's world. Meanwhile, Derek is like, yeah, I guess I'll go to prom. So he ends up deciding to go to prom because Sally will go with him. Okay, that's kind of nice. In a third plot, for some reason, Schlepper and Emily, you know, they've been going out for quite some time, going to prom now. There's been something going on. He's been asking her a lot of really weird questions. We figure out later that he might be actually moving, and it's really sad when you think about it. Although I don't really see them as like a healthy couple anyway, so what does it matter to me? So Casey inevitably decides not to go to prom, of course. She has to be a drama queen about this whole situation, even though Derek's going. And of course Max is still gonna go, which I don't know if that's really respectful, Max. If I were you, I would stay behind. That's the gentlemanly thing to do. And then Sally convinces Derek to try to give Casey a talk into coming back prom, which that's kind of a little too late for me, but hey, get her back here. Let's go. Let's try to make up for this. They end up finding the perfect dress for Casey, which for me, it would be like, Casey, can't you just learn how to go without the specific dress? Like, why couldn't that be the moral of the story? She shows up, has the best night of her life, and is even elected for prom king and queen. Yay, her and Max. A little convenient for the plot. I don't think they were that popular, but okay.
A drama queen and a prom queen, who would have thought?
Oh my gosh, I actually forgot that Schlepper proposed to Emily, and that's why they get into the argument. Ooh. So yeah, their whole plot is normal until it gets crazy. So there's a lot more to unpack throughout the rest of season 3, but we're gonna put it pause right here, right where everybody has seen these prom episodes. But yeah, at least we got like a little bit dialed back on some of the incestual stuff, right? Am I right? I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you remember watching any of these episodes, or are you just tagging along and having me explain them to you? Because you're probably in for a interesting treat if that's the case. I do think it's worth like going back and watching, but only if you find it that interesting. It's such a generic show sometimes, and it's like hard for me to defend it or like say that the storytelling's anything beside the Brady Bunch. No, what can you do? So Life with Derek has a pretty rocky start. The first season is pretty sexist. The second season gets a little bit uncomfortably romantic between the brother and sister. And I feel like we saw all the best this show has to offer in the first half of the third season, and we're covering the second half. And I'm telling you, at this point, I'm emotionally drained. I'm like, what is going on with this house? The Venturis clearly need a lot of work. And I'm really hoping that they either clean up their act or at least get more entertaining by the end of this third season, because this is a lot to watch on Uncle Johnny's shoulders. So let's get into the final 13 episodes of season 3, and then I guess start mentally preparing for the last season. I don't know where this show is going, honestly, and I'm scared, so please buckle in. So this new set of Life with Derek episodes start with Summer School Blues, episode 14, and this episode's all about not being in school anymore, something that we've not seen on Life with Derek, and it's really funny the way things play out. It's basically Derek's miserable because he has to go to summer school. He didn't pass one class, and that's a reason he has to be there all summer. The teacher doesn't even feel interested watching him the whole time, so Derek is alone in this classroom, miserable.
Ready to begin my
prison sentence?
Casey's excited because she's running a camp at that same school. Perfect. Thank God she's not away from him for more than 2 seconds. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so she's getting all these kids to have the best summer ever, with Marty being one of the kids in the class, which is nice because we could actually talk about it later. But of course, she becomes super lame and nobody wants her as a camp counselor because Casey is Casey and not fun at all. Why would you want to have fun with her?
Casey, we talked about this. Summer is for playing, not for problems.
Who says you can't do both?
Lizzie and Edwin have nothing to do because all their summer activities were messed up by the parents, which is kind of sad. I feel like these guys always get like the worst of the worst, and it's not fair.
Worst summer ever.
So they're like, oh, we have to be inside all summer, which is the opposite of a problem I think I would have had. I feel like I loved being inside all day, and especially in summer. So these kids wanting to go outside, I feel like it's more of like an adult wishes type world. So Derek tries to sweet talk his way out of summer school over and over again, but like I said, is only really able to get the teacher to leave, not even get him out of the detention. He still has to show up, but if he passes the test, he can get out. So I guess it's not like a full-on life sentence of an issue. Edwin and Lizzie start this like pet watching business because I guess they just have nothing else to do, so they make the time super productive, start getting a lot of money. See, this is what happens when your parents don't put you in camps or allow you to socialize. Like, then kids start trying to do things adults would do, and it's not a good idea. Like, don't spend your summer trying to earn money at age 12. But they do. They spend all of it trying to take care of the animals. Edwin doesn't do a single thing. It's just Lizzie, so that's not really that fun.
Hey, how do you walk a gerbil?
Very carefully.
Derek ends up intruding on the whole camp experience for Casey and makes it way better than before, adding fun to the whole equation. And since he's still preparing for his test, I guess he could get away with it. I don't know why Casey wouldn't like tell the school board or something. Like, I would get in trouble for this. But yeah, these kids finally have such a good summer because they have somebody like Derek who actually is helping out, and Marty being in the class is definitely emphasizing the whole experience. So yeah, he's just finding something to do. Poor Casey being tortured at every instant. She was the only one looking forward to this. But they have a weird moment where he puts a hula hoop around her. I don't know. These guys, their chemistry is weird. But hey, I'm sure there's more opportunities for us to get into that, isn't there? The episode does kind of have like a sweet ending where Derek is just turning out to distract himself with this whole summer camp thing. So Casey and Marty start helping him out and try to make his summer a lot better by helping him study. Oh, okay. That's a sweet plot.
Oh, we thought we'd put a little fun into your summer learning.
Oh, thank you. Now go.
So yeah, they get him out of his whole summer situation and finally have a good time during the summer. But Lizzie and Edwin, of course, still stuck doing this home business, get sued by the state of Canada.
Marvin is suing us?
No, I'm just kidding. Can you imagine if that's how it went down? No, it's not gonna happen. Most importantly, Derek passes his test by the end of the episode, and they have a little play fight, him and Casey, and I guess that's how it ends. Yeah, so Derek's not in summer school anymore. Good for him. The show's, like, in the middle of its 3rd season, so it's a weird, like, content gap for me to have taken a break, but I appreciate you guys sticking with me. This is gonna get more serial as we go, trust. Next episode. So, Home Movies is episode 15. It does some of my favorite tropes in a TV show. What is that, you ask? It's when the characters pretend to be making a show about their daily lives and it ends up just going haywire. Yeah, so if you can imagine who's doing it this episode, it's Casey. So Casey and Derek both apply to do the video portion of a school project they have. Apparently only 3 people in the class can do it. I don't know why they would limit something like that so much. That seems kind of a creative stunt, but okay. Yeah, they're doing that in this high school, and Casey wants to make a movie about blending 2 families.
My film will suggest that if 2 very different families can live together in harmony, then the world can do the same.
Meanwhile, Derek wants to make Ed Weirdo, which is a superhero he's trying to promote.
Hi! I'm Ed Weirdo.
Yeah, and so Edwin's in a superhero costume this whole episode. Get used to that, because it's not going away. And Casey is the one who gets chosen to do this project. And even though Derek didn't get a choice to, he wants to, like, be the camera guy, but Casey doesn't let him.
Who better to film the fam than someone in the fam?
She has Emma do it from next door. You remember Emma, right? Her school friend. So yeah, Emma's in their house this whole episode. Kind of nice to have that. And recording everything going on. There's a lot more conflict than Casey intends. And since she's a controlling person, surprise, surprise, she tries to take control of the narrative.
Now, Derek, how great has it been having 2 new stepsisters and a new stepmother?
having Lizzie lie about everything that's going on in her life, having Edwin trying to be this persona, and George forgets how he met Nora. So that becomes kind of like a plot line between the parents, the dad not remembering their anniversary, and yeah, that's this whole episode. Derek doesn't want to be a part of it at all because Casey didn't agree to let him be the camera person, so he's kind of protesting, kind of insistent that he's not a part of the family anymore, which he would love so he could be with Casey. Haha. Now, this is just me making jokes at that point. So she cuts him out physically of this picture and tries to make this whole scenario work. When she gets back with Nora and George, they end up in even more fighting and more fighting. Literally, she's just cutting people out of the picture one by one because they're not saying what she wants them to say. And this even drives Emma to quitting, which I would too. This is just such an awkward, inauthentic experience. So Casey starts writing scripts for everybody, as if she wasn't controlling the narrative enough.
Just because it's scripted doesn't make it fake. It's like those reality shows.
Like, people stop caring. Like, George and Nora start reading from the scripts, but it's just cheesy and wrong, and she's running out of options until Derek comes through and saves the day. Finally, the chaos in the house makes a lot more sense. So Derek takes over the camera, and everybody gets through Lizzie's school project. Oh my gosh, I didn't even mention Lizzie's doing a school project as well as Casey, and she's doing it about the rainforest, which is a huge deal, and they're trying to get the perfect diorama, and throughout this entire episode, the diorama keeps like breaking or gets in the way of Casey and her documentary. So it doesn't really work out in the end for Lizzie. They even get it on camera of them destroying the rainforest, which is kind of sad. In the end, they bring the video to class. Derek pieced it together very masterfully. Casey is shown in a very positive light thanks to Derek and his editing, and seems like the blended family is actually a really worthwhile story. Very sweet that he came through for her in this episode. It's nice to see them actually get a lot of good comedy beats out. Casey and Derek arguing in a comedic sense kind of makes up for their relationship a lot, because it's like, okay, this is just a part of the show. It more so bothers me when it's like really romantic tension and it doesn't really have to do with the plot. It's just pushing them to resolve it by making up to one another. That's a weird sense of power for me, so we're gonna move on from that. The next episode is called Grade A Cheater, episode 16, and this one is very morally complicated, especially when it comes to Derek. Derek ropes Casey into one of the most schemey-like experiences you could imagine. So it starts off with this really important test. Of course, Derek did not study for it at all. His bandmates and hockey player friends Sam and Spinner from Degrassi are super concerned with how this is going to end up, especially since he would not be able to compete in the tournament if he failed. Worst comes to worst, they get to this test. Casey fills it out, Derek fills it out. It's a lot harder than both of them expected. But it's even more crazy when they get the results on the board, which, by the way, we don't do that in America. You don't put the test results on a board. I don't want to see other people's grades. That's going to be really annoying. Casey gets a 55 and Derek gets a 68. Oh my gosh. We learn that Derek actually switched the scores. He got the 55 and she got the 68. She's really upset about this, but she's upset in general because 68 is still like the worst score she would have ever gotten.
Ever since that 68 on your math test, I can't see you becoming any kind of physician.
Oh, come on. There's gotta be something else I can do. Forget about neurology. What about podiatry?
Foot doctor?
So it's not even about the whole principle of it all. Derek is like, well, 68 is enough for me to pass, so just let me do it. So then she's like, okay, I guess I could just ask for a retest. And that's kind of her plan of action. Meanwhile, the siblings have their own plot because they're super undervalued and represented, so they have to fight for their rights. The parents are like, okay, Casey and Derek have a big test coming up. They're finals, so you gotta make sure you guys do the chores that they didn't do. And they're like, no, we're not doing that. So the whole episode is them protesting Nora and George, which is actually really funny. They get full-on picket signs and walk throughout the kitchen, and I don't know why. It's just really cute seeing these guys like take initiative. They're definitely gonna end up better than Casey and Derek, which deal with the cheating plot line. So Casey does get a chance to retake the test.
There's just any way I could have another chance, you know? With a clear head. It's just... sometimes I wish I just wasn't such a romantic.
When she's nervous that she's actually not gonna pass, Derek has to help her because then she's gonna tell on both of them. Okay.
Casey, take a deep breath. Out with the bad thoughts.
in with the right answer.
So Derek and Casey are forced to work together. Meanwhile, Casey has to get a perfect score on this test or she's gonna be so embarrassed. She's watching the clock. She's like fantasizing about, you know, how she's never gonna amount to anything because of this whole cheating scandal. And meanwhile, Derek runs in with the test answers. Oh my God. So Casey gets all the answers and has to deal with cheating herself. Is she going to not cheat or is she going to? Because the teacher's not in the classroom, so it doesn't even matter. Oh, okay. Well, the teacher catches Derek under the staircase, finds out that both of them were cheating, and wow, this is actually a huge issue. In the end, they have Max come in and says that he cheated too, which Casey found out earlier. Oof, kind of dramatic. Casey kind of compares him to Derek.
You know, Max, I thought you were different, but you're just a cheater, just like Derek.
Which is weird. Why would you compare your brother to your boyfriend? But hey, it's a free country, I guess. And yeah, she pressures him to come clean, which he does later, kind of softening the teacher up enough for Derek and Casey to get a less intense punishment for this whole thing. All around, the morals in this are very interesting. It ends with a negotiation with Edwin and Lizzie and the parents of like how much they're actually responsible for, which I really respect. I like that they're good at like taking care of themselves in that way. And yeah, Derek and Casey finally get out scot-free. We learn that Casey got an 80 in the end, but hey, is she lying or what? Yeah, no, she lied. She got a 73. So the point is, nobody's perfect, and Casey is done controlling people. Oh wait, that's never gonna happen. Okay, let's get to the next episode. So next we have season 3, 17, Ivanwho. I was really confused about what this episode was about, especially by the name. It's like very, very hard to wrap my head around. The first 10 minutes is them struggling to go to sleep. Like, Casey has a test in the morning, Derek just has school in general, and all the kids don't have anywhere to sleep. We see how testy these kids can really get to each other, especially since they're siblings. Like, the way they share space and how they actually go about helping each other. Like, it's very not positive. Casey ends up not getting a good night's sleep at all and doing really bad on her test. The most important part for her, though, is that when she was asleep in class, nobody woke her up, which also would make me angry too. More specifically, Max didn't. He even left a note, said, "You look cute when you're sleeping." So it becomes a whole conversation on chivalry and if it's dead or not.
I thought chivalry was dead. Why do people keep saying that? Because it like so is.
Which, by the way, I don't think chivalry is dead. I definitely think that there's a point of being a gentleman and a point of being a womanin. And it's just always important to have manners and like respect the other person. I don't think it's specifically gender assigned when it comes to that stuff. I feel like that's the only thing I would question. But otherwise, Casey's just questioning Max this whole episode. Like, how much is he willing to do for her? And she even tests him by telling him to stand up to Derek. And this is where it gets weird. Like, why do you have to incorporate Derek so much in your boyfriend issues? So she keeps setting up scenarios where Max can defend Casey in front of Derek and he does not take them. You know, it's kind of hard because Derek's the most popular guy in school. But hey, Nora's not really a good help because her and George talk about chivalry as if like he never does it. Like, come on, George. But is that really a surprise? George doesn't seem like that kind of guy.
I am the man of the house. Nay, the man, period.
George ends up trying to stand up for himself and his relationship with Nora by fixing the leak in the roof, which is what caused them all to have the sleeping issues in general, which, oh, okay, that kind of checks out. I thought that was irrelevant for a second. And yeah, Casey has a talk with Max about how important it is to her that he is treating her like a lot more respectfully than he did before. You know, like there's a difference between treating somebody like a princess and then full on like respecting them, opening the door for them. Like, you have to have boundaries with yourself and what you're willing to do. And Max is just, he's a little bit passive of a character. He doesn't really strike me as the kind of guy that is doing this for the right reasons. Like, I don't know, he just seems like he is expecting things to work out. A high school relationship, I guess. The point is, nobody wins in the end. Except for Max, because he's still able to date her despite being like really not great of a boyfriend. But hey, they have a little talk at the end, discuss like what they would want to see more of in each other do as their relationship, which is really good and communicative. I think that's a good way to end the episode. The whole Casey and Derek thing, of course, they have to wrap him into it as much as humanly possible. They are unable to make an episode without him. But yeah, Derek and Casey just get wackier and wackier, but at least Max is pulling in the weight. Like the last episode, he is actually standing up and like, yeah, I cheated needed, and she's putting in her weight. Like, it's fair. It's a good relationship. Next, we have number 18, Derek Undone. And this one's fun because obviously it's named after Derek, but it's more so Casey's issue. They're gonna have a dinner party at the Venturi's house, and Casey needs Max to come. Max does not want to do that whole part of the commitment thing, you know, where you have to meet the family, go to dinner, and socialize with them. It's scary. I would be scared too as the boyfriend, but that's what you do at that age. That's just how it works. Derek is sworn off girls in the last episode, but this time he's determined to get with that waitress. The waitress that he met at McNelly's. Yeah, she is officially out of a relationship as revealed through just casual dialogue, so he is going to seek that out. She shows up to his house where he pretends to be like lifting weights. Ridiculous. Derek is so funny sometimes though. And just kind of invites herself over. Oh gosh, it's so weird. So she's just about to leave, but then she wants to cook for the family. And George is like, well, we'll take any cooking. And it's like, come on, George, you have a little bit of standards. Don't make this random house guest cook for you. But she does with the help of Derek. And of course, Derek's into it because he has a crush on her. So while Derek has his crush over, Casey is bringing Max over. Great. Every time they have romantic relationships, they always have to be coincided, always have to be right next to each other. And oh my gosh, Marty grills Max, and it's so funny because she's like asking him personal questions about like who he's dated and everything, and I kind of want to know the answer too. Max looks like a full adult. Like, I get it. He's not actually that old. It's just he looks younger in true Daxon VP that it bothers me. Derek ends up asking out the girl, but he is rejected. She just wants to be his friend, so it really kind of bothers him, breaking him, becoming Derek Undone. Meanwhile, Max has not called Casey yet, like at all, so it's fair to say this relationship is over, which is kind of crazy to think that like this is crossing a line, but the fact that Casey is always spying on Derek, revolving her life around him, that's a little insane. He eventually admits that he was just so nervous and thought that Casey's family didn't like him either, but he really does care about her, so they end up staying together. That's great. Meanwhile, Derek approaches the waitress and is like, hey, like, I thought you liked me. Oops. And yeah, he just gets his heart broken over and over again. Soon he starts flirting with other girls, making her kind of annoyed, which is crazy because she rejected him formally. They get into an argument at work, and I guess the only way to relate to Derek ever is if you have an argument with him, because that just seems to be the only way he communicates. Meanwhile, Edwin and Nora are teaming up to get George's old band back together. Aw, that's kind of a sweet side plot. Reminds me of the Phineas and Ferb episode where they get the band back together, no pun intended. And yeah, so they just get a bunch of old men to play a song in their living room, which Derek is like, why are we doing this? And I am on Derek's side this time, actually. Yeah, this was a good episode. I like that they actually incorporated the family and relationship issues intertwining as opposed to just having Casey's issue and Derek's issue. Like, everything seems to be going in full motion in this episode, and I really like that. Number 19 is the sickest one. It's Sweet 16. Not so Sweet 16, really. And, of course, Casey is having her Sweet 16. And if we learned anything from those prom episodes earlier, yeah, things do not go Casey's way. The more you try to control something, the less you are able to let go of it, the more complications you're probably going to have. And she learned this the hard way in this episode. So she is strictly against surprise parties. No surprises. She doesn't like any of that. She tells her whole family and is setting a boundary with them, right?
I can handle any surprise, as long as I'm given plenty of warning.
But then Derek comes along and is like, no, she does want a party. Everybody who doesn't want it says that. So Derek starts to, behind the scenes, plan a huge birthday party for Casey, a Sweet 16, with all of their friends and pretty much the entire school at Smelly Nelly's. And yeah, so he's doing that this whole time. Edwin's trying to talk him out of it, but yeah, it really doesn't help. Casey plans to have a nice, light dinner with 6 of her friends with the help of Nora and George, which both have no idea what Derek is actually planning. And this gets really crazy because Casey ends up having to get surgery the night of her party. So she's like, okay, let's just cancel dinner. And then Derek reveals that no, he was going to have a full-on party for her. So they can't cancel it because then he would have to cancel his party. And then we learn exactly Derek's true intentions. He just just wanted to have a party and was using Casey as an excuse. Very, like, heartbreaking because that is going too far. So yeah, Casey ends up in the hospital. Meanwhile, Derek is, like, entertaining a bunch of guests at the party. Emma and Max are like, this is not appropriate. Why would we stay here when Casey is in the hospital? And you tell me why Casey told Derek before her own boyfriend how she got in the hospital. That's crazy to me too. Like, why is Max there and surprised at this new information? They all are pretty much against it. Derek ends up going with the family and is woken up by Derek, who actually puts on a bunch of scrubs from the hospital, and the episode ends with him getting in trouble and none of the family helping him, which is a fair repercussion for the fact that she completely iced out Casey on this one. This one was a really fun one because it feels like the prom but a lot more practical, and Derek's intentions by using Casey just to like have his own party is very up to code. It just feels like we're getting onto the same plots over and over and over again, and it always has to lean back to specifically Derek and Casey and their relationship, when this could have just been a normal party episode. I felt like it went a little too far in the way the Casey and Derek like went back and forth with each other when it was really like a Casey-centric episode. But hey, it is funny the way it like panned out and how Derek had to try to turn everybody onto the idea of having the party without her, which crazy move. The next one is episode 20, driving lessons. And this one's really crazy. I can't believe how irresponsible George gets in this. So Casey and Derek are both getting their license. Derek has practiced through video games, of course, and Casey is genuinely parallel parking and working on it. Meanwhile, Derek fails pretty quickly and doesn't tell anybody. He even like lies about it, tells Casey the driving instructor just didn't like him, which, yeah, I don't know, Derek. That's a far-fetched one. Meanwhile, George takes ownership of all the responsibilities he has to do with the house. Nora thinks he's not responsible, and he's like, no, go away for the weekend. I will take care of everything. And of course, that's not gonna go uphill from here. Casey and Derek have a bet that the first person to get their license would pay the other person's car insurance, which is actually kinda crazy. Casey doesn't believe that Derek didn't pass his test because of the instructor, which is so funny. And they end up both taking the next test at the same time. The woman does exist, so Casey's extra nervous, but she passes anyway. When you think it's a victory and they're about to celebrate, George realizes that his license got suspended. Now, not only has Derek failed his test and already has to pay Casey for all of this stuff, but Casey has to teach both George and Derek how to drive in order for them to like get their license and back on the road. This poor teenage girl.
I cannot believe I'm doing this.
So yeah, Casey takes Edwin, Lizzie, Marty, all to their chores now that she has her license, which by the way, wouldn't be a burden for me. I remember getting my license and I loved it. But Derek is just so irresponsible, and like he thinks he could be cool about this situation, but there's nothing cool about being unsafe while driving. And even Marty points that out to Derek, and Derek is like, okay, fine, whatever. I kind of like that they don't have any choice but to be better, because this is like a government thing. Like if you want to drive, you have to pass this test. By the end of the episode, they all pass the test and everything is very positive. All around, like really funny episode when they have to have like driving related plots. And Derek and Casey being against each other is not romantic enough, thank God, that it had to get that place. That's when we get to Cheerleader Casey. Ooh, interesting. So we learn more about Max, that he has a backstory, aka an ex-girlfriend, who's a Ted of the cheerleading squad. Her and Casey do not get along right off the bat. Not Casey's fault, she's super friendly. It's just this blonde girl is super rude about it. She wants to join the cheerleading squad, but Max is like, please don't. And it's because of her. Like, why would they be on the same team? She would just be a bully. And it's like, why would Casey not sign up for an entire activity just because her boyfriend's ex is there? Ugh. But then she does the audition, does a great job, and they don't accept her. Oof.
Heinous. You didn't even do one cheer. This is cheerleading, not ballet.
So now it becomes an actual conflict of interest. This girl is not letting Casey join just because she's Max's ex-boyfriend. And there's where the drama comes. I don't see the other cheerleaders doing full-on like gymnastics here, so why does Casey not get the role? Next thing you know, Derek hits on Max's ex-girlfriend. Even weirder. This is where the incest is getting a little too far. And so they start dating each other. Very quick relationship. He's just doing this about Casey, wants to be with a girl, and she's just, I don't know, she's just in love with Derek. I don't know where that came from. So she starts giving Casey a little bit of a chance because Derek is dating her, but it definitely leads to a lot of conflict between the two.
Like, how could they ever go to each other's weddings if this really does work out, considering both of their partners are exes? Like, what the heck? I wish the counselor got involved at this moment. Like, these are school required activities. I don't know why he thinks he can't just like talk to another adult about this. Casey is, next thing you know, on the cheer squad thanks to the rest of the group. And now they start listening to her instead of the blonde girl. Oh my gosh. So now Casey is like taking over the entire club, not even meaning to. She's like embarrassed about it. And this girl is complaining to Derek about it. So Derek and Casey have an issue once again because their significant others are having a problem with it. Casey actually confronts this girl and is like, I know how you feel. And they relate to each other on a personal level, making it actually possible to do a cheer together. And then they have this like super obnoxious routine that, like, of course they just introduced sports and then now Casey just suddenly is a part of it and they have a whole routine. Like, that's just classic sitcom at its best. And then the next one, is so annoying because it honestly makes me think of this one a lot. Like, that was Casey joining the cheerleading squad and now this is Casey joining the school play. And it feels like not that many elements have changed. Like, she wants to be a part of the school play and Derek is also going to be a part of it. He's an ensemble cast member. I don't know how he even signed up for this if he didn't want to do it. Like, the school play is such a big commitment. I just watched so many like theater related episodes of these teen shows because of one of these retrospectives I was doing, and this by far is like probably the worst because they make fun of musicals in a way that doesn't even like make sense. It's just them singing normally and they pretty much insult the art altogether. They don't even do a full production of like any named show. It's just a untitled pirate performance.
Step off and stay clear. Get out of my face. Or the planky be steered.
With only Casey and this lead guy rehearsing. Like, how do you do an entire show with just 2 characters? It's ridiculous. One of the other pirates ends up dropping out, leading the teacher to be like worried about how they're gonna replace him. And of course they go to Derek right away. Why in the world would they go to Derek of all people to take this role? This of course upsets Casey and Derek is like, he doesn't want to do it. The teacher is basically like, I'm gonna fail you if you don't do this. In a nutshell, like, she asked him to do a book report and if he can't do it, he's just gonna have to be in the show. Meanwhile, the guy in the show is dealing with like masculinity insecurities. He reveals that he only did this show as a part of a dare and he's too scared to dance. Meanwhile, he's a great singer, so Casey is trying to get him out of his comfort zone and help him be not ashamed to perform. And it's not even that, like, the stakes aren't high, it's not cute. Derek doesn't want to be in the performance, they just throw him in because his name is in the title of the show. And yeah, so he's pretty miserable. He ends up coming on stage having a song to himself and you could tell he gets super into it, as all kids do in theater. It is normal in high school to at least have like 1 or 2 shows under your belt. Like, even if you're not a theater kid, like, it's still nice to be a part of something this big. You could tell Derek gets his confidence up because he has fun up there and he's a good pirate. I don't know why they have another like 3-minute song that they wrote for this. Who wrote these songs? Like, it just doesn't seem like an actual show. Like, they have so many copyright free musicals they could have pulled from, but they just made this general show. The guy actually brought Casey flowers, which reveals that like maybe he was crushing on her, and Max is like seeing her after the show, which is awkward. But yeah, Max at first is like, oh, I'm not gonna come to the show. And then once he sees Casey react super upset, which by the way, not hard to figure out, he goes opening night. Good boy. Made the right decision. And yeah, so Casey is super happy, and I don't know, this feels like the beginning of a cheating storyline? Who knows? Episode 23 is actually really topical. It's called Allergy season, and it's not just referring to getting sick around the holiday. It's more about like the mental part of getting sick. Casey in this entire episode is feeling like overwhelmed, overworked, and she's just sneezing up a storm.
Bless you. Bless you. That it?
The therapist tells her that like maybe this is mental, which is a good consideration. I agree with this guy. The therapist is actually really cool. He's definitely got my vote for here. It's basically a series of Casey assuming it's one thing or the other because she usually doesn't get that sick. And the only thing she's noticing is all these new patterns in her life. Like, for example, like she hasn't gone to poetry club in a while. She hasn't done anything that used to be Casey-like. Of course, this seems like a bad sign for her. And at first she thinks it's all because of Max. So she's worried she's allergic to Max, which everybody in her family laughs at because it's like, why in the world would you be allergic to your boyfriend? Meanwhile, Derek's parents are finally breaking down on his rudeness. Like, he starts insulting people way worse than normal because Edwin has a pimple and he can't help but roast him. So George steps down and is like, okay, we're gonna do like $1 every time you say something mean.
Sorry, D. You crack wise, I get the prize.
Which actually, like, puts Derek back in line. The loner kid just sits idly by. He's in the poetry club and is wondering why Casey, like, really ditched all of her favorite activities. Kind of random of this guy, but it's more so to, like, trigger Casey. And she fully realizes that maybe she's sick because she's changed her entire life since she started dating Max. Now that he's about to win the football tournament, like, she's kind of lost her identity, which is actually a really good plot for a teen show. Like, there's nothing you'd struggle with more at this age than, I guess, over-identifying with your friends, your relationships. There's just something you're clinging on to for your identity that Casey is going too far with in this one.
I think I lost my identity.
Did you check your wallet?
So, crazy enough twist, she ends up breaking up with Max, and that is like kind of the later half of the episode. So I'm like, oh shoot, are they gonna make up, or is this for real? And it turns out, yeah, it's for real. Meanwhile, Derek is still getting charged for all of his insults, and George tries to kick it up a notch, saying that if he can go an entire week without insulting anybody, he'll give him like $50. Derek takes this on, and by the end of the episode, Casey tries her poetry again, which is kind of like her way of reclaiming her independence, the hobbies she once loved, and of course, that is enough insult for Derek to throw away $50 and give it to George.
Woof. 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 Woof.
All around, this episode is very interesting because it's like struggling on the inside, struggling on the outside, and Derek forking over a bunch of money to make up for his attitude, which I think is really funny. I wish they continued this past this episode, but obviously it would make too much work. I feel really bad for Max out of all people because Casey doesn't realize she wants to break up with him until like right when they win the game and they're gonna go to the after party. It's interesting though because it definitely is out of her comfort zone to be a part of the popular crowd to begin with. So noticing these traits in herself and that she kind of wants to reevaluate her life is actually really cool and honorable of her. And I feel like a teen show wouldn't actually have that because it's not funny, it's not entertaining, so shows don't usually end like this. So that's why I'm kind of proud of this moment. They even kind of give it an emotional beat with Casey just alone in the hallway after she breaks up with him. The next episode we have, episode 24, is called Things That Go Bump in the Night. And this one is actually pretty unique. I feel like they haven't done this plot on the show quite yet, where Casey and Derek are teaming up. At first, it's just about Casey and Derek trying to go to a party. George is like, I'm not gonna handle you guys bickering ever again. It's getting frustrating and your flirtiness is making us all uncomfortable. Just kidding, he doesn't say that part, but can you imagine if he did? That would be kind of awesome. This episode also kind of goes a direction you don't expect. Let me get into that. So Derek and Casey are told they can't go out for the weekend to the same party, and they're pretty much protesting this, but they can't. They just have to stay at home. Meanwhile, Lizzie and Edwin are getting into finding clues. He has the Super Sleuth 3000 kit where he could actually like detect fingerprints and all this stuff, which is actually kind of cool for the middle siblings. They always have something interesting going on. Good for them.
Dad, don't confess before we've collected the evidence.
Yeah, thanks a lot, George.
And of course, now that Casey's single, which is a nice acknowledgement that her relationship with Max is continuing to not go back to the way it was, it makes the party seem all that more important. Casey and Derek then confide within each other that they're going to be sneaking out. Ooh, and it's so funny because Casey gets unrealistically into it. Like at first they're just on the couch trying to keep it cool and not drive suspicion until they sneak out into the garage to take the car.
What took you so long?
I snuck out my window and climbed down a tree.
Why didn't you take the stairs?
Because if I'm gonna sneak out, I want the full experience.
Everything takes a wild turn when Derek accidentally hits the car behind him, his dad's new car. Oh my gosh. So now they don't even like go to the party. They basically like hide upstairs and try not to admit to the guilt. It's so funny though, because like Casey being into all of this is a little far for her character. Like she purposely goes out to climb the tree. She tries to do everything that a robber would do and even plans it out with purple pen. I don't know why that part was necessary, but okay. She writes out like a list of like how they're gonna get away with it. Marty ends up finding them hiding under the table, but they kind of seemingly get away with it when George comes back and sees them both in their rooms.
I thought you and Derek might have snuck out. Can you believe that?
But then hey, they do not get away with it. They don't even go to the party. It's just the next morning, they just are super guilty about this whole thing going on and hoping they could leave it behind them. Like George is like, oh, somebody hit me at work. Maybe they'll get away with it, sure. Until Edwin and Lizzie come in with their sleuth kit and actually start figuring out what's been going on, which is the unique twist of the episode. I feel like it's cool seeing them go and interview Derek and Casey and actually figure out what's been going on. It's actually not hard to figure out it was them. Like, I don't know who else they thought it would be. Eventually, Edwin and Lizzie present all the information to George, but Casey feels so guilty, so she admits everything they did. Only to find out that Edwin didn't even suspect them, so like, they weren't guilty to begin with. And of course, they end up getting punished long term, and it's over for them. Although it's nice to see Derek and Casey work together. There wasn't as many romantic vibes, which I was pretty okay with, and just seeing that it wasn't like a generic party episode where they're trying to get away with it, that was a breath of fresh air. They're trying to get away with something completely different. It's like that trope of like the shattered vase where all the main characters are trying to fix it, and with both of them being involved, that's funny. Things That Go Bump in the Night is such a cool name for this episode too, because it's like them trying to be sneaky. Like, of course they're not gonna get away with it. But hey, it doesn't get crazy until the next episode, guys. Derek goes way too far. I've never seen him go this far in all of Life with Derek until season 3, episode 25, and it's called Derek's School of Dating. And this one is exactly as the title recommends. It's a bunch of different people needing advice for dating, and Derek's the one to insert his intelligence into it. It doesn't start out that way though. It starts out with Sally confiding within Casey, so we get a confirmation that she and Max are broken up, and yeah, this girl's trying to comfort her, but really she's just like, hey, I kind of like your brother. And Casey's like, okay, I guess I'll talk to him for you. But she's not really jealous, is she? Now, she kind of like takes it under her wing to like actually do some snooping for her. But hey, it could have been a sweet moment where Sally was checking in on Casey about how she was doing with the breakup, but then it just turns into a fave, which kind of makes the whole experience a lot more negative for me. Like, I kind of respect Sally a little bit less for this whole deal. Ralphie, who is Spinner from Degrassi, Derek's best friend, ends up getting a girlfriend in this episode, and Derek watches his friend turn into, you know, like this really soft, sensitive guy, which always is a negative thing in the high school shows. The B-plot, Edwin trying to attract a girl, and he takes advice from Derek. This girl's like, oh, let's go out for the weekend, and he's like, no, I gotta play cool. So Edwin blows it at every chance he can by listening to Derek. And Derek, oh my gosh, his advice definitely doesn't work, because when he finds out that Sally likes him, he starts to get defensive and actually starts to counter-attack almost. Like, he's upset that he was rejected earlier, so he's like not taking it for some reason and starts giving Edwin even worse advice, almost having his relationship ruined. Casey tries to be like nice about this whole thing and set up Derek and Sally to reconnect at their house, but then George tells the boys this is about to happen because he thinks he's, you know, connecting with them on dating and everything. But no, George, you're just a big blabbermouth. I'm so upset he does this. It definitely bothers me because it's like, why don't you just listen to your wife and not tell anybody this? Derek decides to purposely show up with this girl Amanda, the one that Ralphie's dating, to make it seem like he already had a date that night. He's claiming that he's the one who's in charge of surprises, which actually is pretty accurate considering that Home Movies episode from earlier in this season, because he's very like hypersensitive to that stuff. So Sally ends up walking out and all of their chances are ruined. But I like that we actually get to see the dad be accountable for this. Like, the girls confront him and they're like, why did you do that? And he's like, oh, I don't know. So then Edwin is smart. He actually goes to Lizzie for advice this time, who Lizzie does kind of this thing Casey does where she sets him up with the girl he was talking to, pretty much explaining the miscommunication. Meanwhile, Derek starts to regret his actions, which I can't believe he didn't even think of like what he was doing earlier. How insensitive is it to bring another girl purposely knowing that this girl you like is going to be there? Like, Derek, that is sadistic. Not only is it sadistic, it's kind of psychopathic. I don't get what he's trying to do here. And later he has to actually ask Casey to set them back up again. And it's not easy. Sally has not forgiven him because he's a jerk. Meanwhile, George gives Edwin advice and it actually means a lot to him. So the combination of George and Lizzie actually gets Edwin another chance with this girl. And I guess Lizzie's whole thing is she lied to her, saying that Edwin actually can't go on a date with her because he just has other plans. But I don't know if lying is the way to go about this whole thing, guys. In the end, Derek tries to finally woo Sally by showing up with like flowers and a jukebox. And there's a moment where we think it's like not even Sally and this old man comes out and you're like, what the heck? But then yeah, Sally comes out and the two share a kiss. So it's kind of like the end of an arc for the will they won't they with Sally and and Derek. But yeah, by the end of the episode, Derek's School of Dating becomes the most infamous trashy advice episode, in my opinion. But with all that said, the final episode of the season isn't actually as dramatic, which I'm kind of disappointed. I wish they would have switched this episode and the last episode. This one's called A Very Derekus Christmas, which is okay.
Sun, sand, girls in bikinis, that is what Derekus is all about.
And this actually follows the parents, it feels like. You know, everybody's getting ready for Christmas, and everybody has their own plan. Like Casey and Lizzie are gonna go skiing, Marty and Edwin are gonna go somewhere, and then Derek and Ralphie are going to Florida. Oh my god, I can't believe he's flying into the States. So George and Nora kind of want to have Christmas alone this year, eating like fish and like having a private date. Okay, sweet. They finally get the house to themselves, so they are in bliss.
Who needs turkey when you can have quail?
A Christmas quail?
Oh, yeah.
Of course, their plans are ruined when George's aunt shows up. Didn't expect another new member of the family. I don't know why they keep introducing these guys out of nowhere. And so they're not going to be alone for Christmas after all, which is kind of annoying because it's like, okay, so then the kids left for no reason. Oh well, George goes along with it and everything is okay. Until a giant snowstorm hits, causing pretty much all the kids to come back one by one. First, Edwin and Marty, pretty upset. Then Casey and Lizzie. And nobody's really happy to see this woman. She doesn't really play a huge part in the plot, just for the fact that she keeps the parents busy long enough, so I don't know what that counts for, but fine. And lastly, Derek comes home, and that's where the midpoint of the episode strikes. It's kind of cool that like he wasn't really in it up until this point, and now he's back, and everybody's having such a horrible Christmas. The aunt actually talks to Derek and says like, you've always been this like bright kid that loves to make everybody happy, and now you're not like that. And it actually inspires him to bring Derekus to his family instead of going to Florida, which fair enough. So then it's up to Derek to bring back the holiday, which he actually takes it upon himself to do. And I find that actually really sweet. I don't think he needed to do that. And it's nice that the aunt is put in a relevant way that actually inspires him. Like, because it seems like nobody in the regular family would have got him to do that. And it's really cute. Derek ends up hosting this school play of all the kids reenacting how their parents met. And it's very cute. I feel like I've seen this done on many sitcoms, but for some reason at the top of my head, I cannot think of it. The point is, the entire third season ends at episode 26 on a Christmas episode. I was not expecting that. I feel like the other seasons thus far had a good ending episode that actually made you want to watch more. They think since Derek's School of Dating was like enough stakes to raise that they would just take this like filler episode. Hey, we're in a time now where we don't remember when these came out. We just have the episode list in front of us. And this is not a fun way to end it, guys. I'm just saying that. But hey, at least we got Derek's furthest episode, like the episode where he gets the most unhinged right at the end of the season. Like, that's enough for me. Seeing Max and Casey break up, wasn't expecting that either. It's nice to have like a huge turn of events, but I hope that comes back in season 4. All around, like, this set of episodes were really fun to watch. I feel like they were just going off and having fun, giving the kids plots a lot more spice to them, you know? Derek and Casey don't seem to be as into each other, thank God, but yet it's still a little bit unhealthy how much she harps on his life and he harps on her life, considering they hate each other and are arguing all the time. Like, they really must like each other if they're gonna just insert themselves like this, especially considering where this season started versus like where it's going. I don't know, that's just my take on all of it. Yeah, this is the last time I feel like everybody's going to be as young as they are. The next season kind of takes like a little bit of a leap forward, so I hope you guys enjoyed this final set of episodes. This is the 52nd episode of Life with Derek, therefore the 52nd episode I reviewed. And I gotta say, the show's had a lot of ups and downs. The highs were really high, but the lows were really boring. Honestly, like, it's one thing if the lows are low, but at least don't make them boring. All around, it's okay. We had a good time, and I hope you enjoyed this whole season to begin with. I can't wait to dive into the final season. Make sure to keep liking, subscribing, all these Life with Derek retrospectives, and maybe even check out my other retrospectives. I really appreciate you guys and your support, and it's so fun to keep watching this with you. Let's keep it going, guys. Thank you so much for watching. This is Johnny 2000, and have a great day.